We are now.
Oh,
There we go.
There you go. Good morning to everyone who joined us. Was hoping to have a few more people this morning, but maybe we'll have some people log on here in the next little bit. So, well, the intention of this meeting is to share news about our 2022 benefits package. So we'll have a presentation from Montgomery and Graham to go over the details of the Cigna medical, vision, and dental plans, as well as all the well-being services, employee assistant programs. There's also going to be a really detailed explanation on the HRA, the health reimbursement agreement. And it's a casual forum. As you can see, we don't even have a whole lot of participants at this point. So please bring questions forward just as they come up. You can raise your hand, speak up, type it in the chat at any time, and we'll address them as they come up, and of course afterwards too. So and since you just heard the meeting is being recorded, you'll get in an email just afterwards, and can share that with members of your household if you would like. Some of the decisions affect other your dependents and maybe a significant others. So it's good to keep that in mind if there's something specific, because the presentation that's being shown has some really great data in it as well. So first off, before I hand it over to Mandy and Brandon, I want to introduce Shelly from Aflac. Most of you who are on actually have already met her, but she's going to speak on behalf of their programs for a moment. And all the enrollees interested in obtaining Aflac coverage or making changes can reach out to her directly during the open enrollment period. You can reach out to her directly at any time, actually, but making changes or enrolling is during the annual open enrollment period. And then we use a QR code and a link, which takes you straight to O'Brien's Aflac's landing page. So it's a step past our employee portal, where you'll enroll on medical, vision, and dental and 401k, but it's a link that's going to be embedded therein, and it'll also be in the email you'll receive after, well, on Friday, once the open enrollment starts to kick off here. So that'll take you straight to all of Shelly's information and all of the brochures and everything. They have several different products, but I want to just introduce her. She's going to speak for just a few minutes here. And thank you, Shelly, for joining us.
Thank you, Ellie. Good morning. I know we're all really stoked to talk about insurance.
We can't hear you.
Oh,
I can't hear you.
you can't hear me?
Oh, I can hear.
That's weird. Could you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Ellie.
Yes.
Too early for technical difficulties.
I got you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got
So Aflac is your supplemental insurance, and it covers things, expenses that your major medical does not. And I'm not really going to go into detail about all the products and benefits, since we do have that landing page. There's actually videos that you can watch. It's pretty inclusive, and it also includes a link to my calendar. So I really encourage you to just set up a meeting with me, a 15-minute meeting, especially if you already have coverage, just so that we can review and make sure that we're, providing the best coverage to protect your family. Aflac's a little bit different than your major medical. If you do retire or leave O'Brien, you can keep your Aflac piece, which is different than your major medical. So it's a portable plan, and then also the rates are stable. So whatever your rate is when you sign up, that's your lifetime rate. So that, is a really nice piece to know that you can still keep those benefits. So I'll just quickly name the products that we offer, and then I'm going to turn it over. We have short-term disability, which is your paycheck protection. So if you're injured off the job or you have an illness and you can't work, doctor says you can't work, then that is your paycheck protection, your short-term disability. We also offer accident, hospital. Those two help with out-of-pocket medical expenses. And then we also have cancer and critical care, which are more of those catastrophic type expenses. So if you did have something, if you were diagnosed with cancer, there would be a lot of out-of-pocket expenses, especially if you live remotely like we do on the coast. If something bad happens, most likely we'll have to travel to Portland. And so there are a lot of unexpected expenses with that, travel and lodging and that type of thing. So I think I'm just going to leave it at that. I encourage you to check out the landing page and set up a time with me. I've kind of tried to keep open enrollment maybe to the first week in December. Once we get past that, things kind of get out of control. So once we hit the holidays. So I hope you guys have a great day, and thank you for including me in this meeting.
Thank you, Shelley. Yeah, no worries. And one thing I wanted to mention too, that we'll also include in the information this year is something that Aflac's benefit that they have is the it's like a preventative care kickback. If you go to the dentist anyways, once a year, you go to get an annual physical or something, and they'll just give you money to do that. And you're doing it anyways on the other side. And isn't it like $50 or something?
It's $60 for the accident policy for wellness, and then $75 if you have any kind of cancer screening once a year.
Awesome.
Kind of nice.
Great. Well, we're really pushing, comprehensive wellness for 2022. So it's one of our initiatives that's close to O'Brien and Open Concept and HR department personally. So I want to also remind people of that. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.
See you this afternoon.
you.
Bye. All right. So we're going to kick it off over to Mandy and Brandon, also known as Brandy from Image Insurance
Brandy.
Brokerage.
Yeah.
You got it. That's
Yes.
Is it Mandarin? Is it
It's yeah, there you go.
Mandarin's kind of fun, but
Like,
Well, once they're done, and we're wrapped up with all the questions, Paul and I will speak on the 401k and our healthy employee initiatives coming up. So I'll just kick it over to you guys now. Thank you.
thank you, Ellie. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this morning. I know it's nice and early, and I know you look forward to learning about the benefits, or maybe it's a reminder to you, and we want to leave time for questions. So the presentation should only take about 20 to 25 minutes. If Mandy gets long-winded, I'll cut her off. So,
and vice
right,
versa.
Mandy? All right, I'm gonna share my screen here. We're gonna go through a couple slides. So we're with M&G. We are your benefit consultants who help with O'Brien to make sure we have the most competitive benefit package out there. And we work with Ellie and Paul. And we just want to make sure that we are doing what's best for the employees. And so sometimes this takes a back and forth with the current carrier to negotiate rates and benefits. 2021 has been a little bit of a rough year for insurance carriers. 2020, they had low claims because we couldn't go in. So they did fairly well in 2020. And then we saw in 2021, claims really kind of went through the roof. We had a lot of large claims that were not diagnosed in 2020 that were diagnosed in 2021. And so a lot of the carriers have been giving out big renewals. And so it's been a time where most employers are cutting contributions and changing benefits. And I'm going to show you probably the best slide of the whole presentation here, where this here gives you an overview of all of the benefits. And it's right here where it says, hey, we are keeping the same benefits with no changes, which is just really nice and rare right now in these days. And the contribution is staying at the 80% for the employee. You will see a little bit of an increase on the rates, but they're still staying at that 80% contribution. So no changes, and we'll go through a few of the highlights of the medical, and then we'll go through the HRA, which is a health reimbursement. So your deductible really is only $1,000, and then the company's kicking in a reimbursement after that. Dental is also with no changes. Vision, no changes, and then we'll review the employer paid life. So going to the medical, I'll go through a few of the main points. We are on what we call an OAP plan. It's an open access plan. Just as a reminder, Cigna has one of the biggest networks in the area, and you have access to all or almost all the hospitals in the Portland metropolitan area. You've got access to OHSU, Providence, Legacy, Seventh-day Adventist, Peace Health. So really any hospital in the Portland area. Also, the major clinics are in the network, Oregon, Portland Clinic, that type of thing. So it does say here deductible of $5,000 for an individual and then $10,000 for family. But this is where the HRA would kick in on the deductible. You're going to pay the first $1,000 of the $5,000. Once you've hit that $1,000, the HRA will then reimburse $4,000 of the deductible. And just so you know, this is O'Brien paying for this, right? So once you've hit the $1,000, O'Brien is paying for that $4,000 of this deductible. Your out-of-pocket max, and this would be considered your worst case scenario if you had a catastrophic claim for the year, the most that you would pay out. Again, this out-of-pocket of $7,000 includes the deductible of $5,000, right? So you'd pay your $1,000, they would reimburse $4,000 of it, and then you would pay the remaining $2,000. So in essence, your out-of-pocket worst case scenario for the year is $3,000 for an individual. Primary physician visits, can't speak this morning, is a $30 copay. And then if you go to a specialist, it's a $50 copay. As a reminder, though, if you're doing preventive care, which you get every year, and this includes physicals, mammograms, well child care, even colonoscopies, which were a lot of fun, those are all covered at 100%. So there's no copay. The Affordable Care Act allows us to be able to have these preventive exams covered in full. I will just also remind you, if you're going in for one of these preventive care exams, make sure that it's just the preventive care. Once they, prescribe a prescription or refill a prescription, or you want them to look at something else like a mole, that will change to a diagnostic visit. It'll no longer be covered 100%. This happens a lot where they feel like, well, it's convenient, I'll just get a prescription filled. Well, that provider is going to change that visit to diagnostic. So make sure you're just doing your preventive when you're in there. As a reminder, something that's very convenient, especially over the last 18 months, has been telemedicine, this virtual visit. This is only a $15 copay. And also they can prescribe on these virtual visits. Urgent care, which we highly recommend over emergency. They did a study and it showed that about 90% of ER visits could have been handled in urgent care. This is only a $50 copay. Of course, if it's life-threatening, involves children that could be serious, we urge you to go to emergency, but you will pay a difference. The emergency room is a $300 copay. Then you're going to pay 20% after you've met your deductible. Most likely, you're going to pay that full amount of $1,000 if you go to the ER. Plus, you're going to wait a long time. So if it is not urgent, we encourage urgent care. Inpatient hospitalization, if you do stay the night, is covered at 80%. After you've met your deductible, you would be responsible for 20%. This also includes outpatient facilities. If you're going in for a in and out procedure during the day, you will pay 20% after once you've hit your deductible. Basic lab and x-ray is 20% no deductible. So you only pay a coinsurance amount. This would include, you know, if you broke your ankle, they're doing a normal routine x-ray, then it's covered at 80%. If you're doing advanced imaging, this would include your MRIs and CAT scans. These are high cost x-rays. This is going to be subject to deductible. You will pay coinsurance once you've satisfied the deductible. I will just put a quick blurb on this. Not all providers are the same price. If you're at Providence and they want you to do an MRI, you're going to pay on average about $2,000 to $3,000 for that MRI. If you were to go to an independent facility like Epic or Quest, and you can go to the website and we'll show you a list of these independent facilities, an MRI would cost you probably around $700 to $800. So it's significantly less than these name brand providers. And you have the right to go to these. Even if your provider is with Providence or Legacy, you don't have to go to their facility for an x-ray. So we encourage that. Alternative care, it's just a good benefit to remind you of what you have. Chiropractic is a $50 copay, and these are not subject to deductible. Acupuncture is $50 copay, and then massage therapy is covered at a $50 copay. And then your prescriptions, you have what we call a $10 generic, and then a $40 for a non or for a preferred brand. These are ones that have been around for a while. And then $60 for a non-preferred. These are the ones that we see advertised on television. Okay, so that's the medical. The vision, a reminder here, we have the VSP network. It's a huge network that you have access to optometrists and vision clinics. There is no copay for exams or materials. It's $0. You get covered in full every year on your eye exam, and this includes optometrists. You do have an allowance on your frames. You get up to $150, and this is every year. And then also on lenses, you get up to $150. So you really get up to about $300 for the both frames and lenses. And then here are the costs for the medical and vision. You'll have access to this. So I know it's hard to kind of see and memorize the rates here, but you will have access to those. All right, the dental. Wow, this is exciting, Mandy. This is where you come in.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, everybody, hang on to your hats. This is the good part. Okay. Everyone's on mute. So I think the applause and the laughter is muted, but you guys, this is exciting. There's no change to the dental, including the premiums this year. So that's a great thing. I know the medical benefits aren't changing at all. There was a slight increase in the deductions, but for the dental, there's no changes. So I'm just going to review it real quickly. I know you guys are pretty familiar. There is a deductible on this plan. It's $50 for an individual, and the max deductible you'd pay for a family would be up to $150. So if you have 7 people on the plan, your deductible for 7 people would be $150. And just as a reminder, the deductible doesn't apply to any preventive services. So when you guys go in to get your cleanings, the deductible doesn't apply. It only applies to the basic and the major services. You also have a benefit maximum annually of $1,000. So that's, that's what you have every year. It resets in January. You get a brand new maximum. And so that's not a change there. If you go to the preventive visits, as a reminder, just like with the medical, it's 100% covered and there's no deductible. So you should go in to get your cleanings twice a year, 100% covered. And a lot of times when you go in for your cleanings, they can kind of identify your overall health. And so I know Ellie was talking a little bit about overall health and wellness with everything. And so don't forget about your amazing dental plan. For basic services, you guys also have 100% coverage, which is amazing. Again, the deductible would apply. So as an individual, you pay $50 and then you would have your basic services, which would be like a filling, something like that. And then for major services, you're covered at 50%. And that would be the big stuff, like the roof. What is it called? Crown. The crowns. Those are the big ones, big ticket items. And again, like Brandon said, you don't have to memorize the rates here. These will be accessible to you when you do your enrollments. We also have one pager that she can also share with you that has all this information there. And then the other thing that your employer provides for you is $10,000 life insurance AD&D policy, and that's through the standard, and there are not any changes there, and that's just something that your employer provides.
Mandy, can I ask a question about the dental real quick?
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about going to a preferred Cigna partner and not going to preferred?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. So they have a very large network, and you can look up any providers on mycigna.com. You can look up medical providers or dental providers there. And so when you choose the providers that are preferred with Cigna in the network, and you go get your cleaning, for instance, you will have no balance billing. It's 100% covered. If you choose to go outside of the network, which that does happen on occasion, maybe you just prefer this dentist, there are times that even if you got your cleaning, you may have a balance bill of $10 to $20 to $30, just depending on how much that dentist charges, because they don't have contracts in place with Cigna. So that's the beauty of using the preferred network with Cigna for the dental and the medical too. You won't have that extra balance at the end of it. I know that's a common question too, Ellie, where people say, hey, my cleaning should be covered at 100% and I have a bill for $15. And that's because you went outside the network and that dentist charges a little bit over the amount of what Cigna would pay. So.
Thank you for explaining that. I know for those of us that live out on the coast, it's a little harder to find.
Yeah.
Like my fave dentist, which I know a lot of employees go to as well, because we built their office, is Alexandrov. And I've found with having, my children on the plan too, that the balance bill is very minimal. It's worth going to a great dentist for me. So it doesn't mean you can't. I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that too. That doesn't mean you can't go to them, and it's not a huge burden that shakes out to you if you do.
Right. And the other thing I always like to tell people before they have any major dental work done, go ahead and get a cost estimate of treatment from the dental office. I mean, a lot of times people get surprised by these, bills from a dentist thinking, wait, does my insurance cover anything? It does. But I think it's always important to just kind of know ahead of time, what is this going to be? And they can do that for you. They will call the insurance and see how the insurance will pay based on the procedure. So that's always a good thing to do too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I am going to talk about Peak One, and Peak One is the administrator of the HRA plan that Brandon had explained in the first slide, where it's a health reimbursement arrangement. This is something O'Brien chooses to tack on their plan. Cigna doesn't know about this HRA, so if you ever call Cigna and say, why does it say I have a $5,000 deductible? I really only have a $1,000 deductible. They don't know what you're talking about. So I just kind of want to make it clear, and we want to make sure that people understand this process. They do have a claim form, and we have a current form on file. They're updating a new form for the 2022 year for us, and we'll make sure that you guys will have that. But it's not too late if you've already had expenses this year towards your deductible and you didn't file for reimbursement. You can still do that because we're still in the plan year. So I just want to make you guys aware that once you've hit the $1,000 mark on your deductible, anything after that that's a deductible expense, you can get reimbursed for. And it doesn't have to be the entire $4,000 amount. You could maybe only need a reimbursement for $1,000, and you can still file for that. So we want to make that really clear today. So the first thing that you'll do, I'm just going to go through the steps. Thank you for the fireball that you're doing there, Brandon. I appreciate that. You receive medical supply services that apply to the deductible. So again, a lot of things don't apply to the deductible. If you go to an office visit, there's no deductible expense there. So there's no reimbursement available. But say it's an inpatient hospital stay, you know the deductible is going to apply to that. So that's the first step. The second step is you're going to obtain an EOB from Cigna. And that's either going to come in the mail or you can go to mycigna.com. And I encourage all of you to register there if you haven't already, because it's really easy to get your EOBs there. And the EOB is the explanation of benefits. And that will show you, and we have an example of one that we'll show in the next slide, but that'll show you how much of your deductible you've met so far. And that's how you would be able to track if you're eligible for reimbursement. The next step is to fax or log into the online portal with Peak One. Again, we do have a claim form for this, and I'm sure it's available to you on your portal, but if not, we'll make sure that you know where that is. And that will give you the number to either fax if you want to fax, or you can log into the portal and do it that way. The next step is you file your claim and include a cover sheet and the explanation of benefits. And so you do need to make sure that you include the explanation of benefits from Cigna so that Peak One can know, oh, they really have deductible expenses. I can see this on the explanation of benefits, and that's how much they'll know how to pay. And then you would get reimbursed by a check or direct deposit. You do have to sign up for a direct deposit if that's how you want to get reimbursed with Peak One, and you would do that through their Peak One portal. So if you go to the next slide, Brandon, this is a sample. This is a sample of an EOB from Cigna. And this is the last page of it. And I just kind of like to include this. Well, number one, it's a claim received for Joe Somebody. And I really enjoy that name. Joe Somebody is here. But anyway, you guys may have seen this before. This is an EOB, and you're going to get that when you have services and the insurance pays something. But what I did is I wanted to highlight the at the bottom there, and it shows what you have paid towards your individual in-network deductible for the calendar year. So that's the line that you're really going to focus on. Now, obviously, this service, this isn't going to require any reimbursement for you guys because you have to pay the first $1,000 of the deductible. But keep an eye on that line. And so for some of you, if you've already had some services and you know you haven't submitted reimbursement, you can still do that. Look at that line there of your last deductible, and it'll show you how much that you've paid already so far in the calendar year towards your deductible. And if you're over $1,000, then you should submit for reimbursement. And again, if it says $2,000 there, well, you know you can get $1,000 reimbursement. It doesn't have to be for the entire deductible amount. And so that's a good point, just in case you were thinking you had to save it or you had to wait or you didn't qualify because you didn't meet the entire deductible. So anything over that $1,000, you're eligible for some reimbursement. So I just want to encourage people, if they haven't used the reimbursement plan and they're eligible for it, to do so.
Annie, can I add one thing
Sorry.
to this?
Yeah.
Yes.
So one thing just to be aware of, if you've got a service that is subject to deductible, which would be like hospitalization, MRIs, CAT scans, that type of thing, make sure that they are billing Cigna first before you make payment. Oftentimes I hear where they're asking for some payment, and sometimes they even want it in full before you even have a service. You should push back on this, because what this column here is important to understand is that Cigna has discounts with these providers, and those discounts need to be applied to the expenses before you should pay. So if you're about to go into, the hospital or that type of thing, the bill would come through with the discounts from Cigna, and then you would see the amount you owe after that.
And I think last year, and maybe Paul could shake his head to agree or disagree with me here, but we talked about a couple of those strange circumstances where you do have a knee surgery scheduled or something, and they are demanding a deposit payment from you prior to coming in. And if someone is in a situation where that's a hardship for them, we will work with them on that. If it's, because the reimbursement will can come back to them fairly quickly after the explanation of benefits is produced. And in my own case, going to the ER, the minute I had access to the EOB, I could get my reimbursement. It was all of 48 to 72 hours for me to get the money, and then I turn around and pay the hospital. So it was really easy,
Yeah, they're very fast.
very fast.
Yeah, and a lot of them will do payment plans too, the providers. If you've got a big hospitalization bill, a lot of them will do monthly payments. So, and you can get your HRA reimbursements during that time as well.
And then just one other comment, if you don't mind, Mandy, while we're on that, because I have dependents on my plan, and that can get tricky for people to track, I think, too. I always encourage everyone to sign up for My Cigna, because these things sometimes will come in the mail with like a whole bunch of other mail, and you're like, oh gosh, I don't know what any of this means, and I certainly don't have time or energy to read it. If you go onto My Cigna, the homepage shows yourself and your dependents, and like infograph of like where you're at on your deductible for each one. So if it's starting to look like you're, I have like I said, a college student who's on my plan. Well, I'm not managing his services. I don't know when he goes to the doctor, but if I see that he's gone over his deductible, then I can get with him and start figuring out how to get those reimbursements after he's gone over the $1,000. So it's really easy to track there.
Exactly. And yeah, that's a good point. I think we've kind of keep talking about an individual that can be reimbursed, but if you're enrolled as a family, once you've reached the $2,000 part of the deductible, which is one for one person, 1,000 for another person, you can get reimbursed the next piece of it, just like an individual can. So good clarification. Is there anything else on the EOB? Okay. So this is something I want to share with you. I did just send the link last night to Ellie, so I know that she will be able to send that out to you guys as well. But this is a really great website that Cigna creates, and it's specifically designed for O'Brien employees. And so this might work great for somebody that has a spouse that wasn't able to attend the meeting, and they just kind of want to know what's our plan, what kind of resources and programs do you have with Cigna? There is a home, this is the landing page of it. And you see that really cool guy down there. He's like a little cartoon avatar. They do all these little videos and sort of explanations of just certain things that you might want to know. You cannot use this website to do any enrollments or anything changes, anything like that through there. This is just strictly informational. But I like to share it with you guys because honestly, when you click on the resources and programs tab, there's all these things that come up in videos and little just helpful hints that maybe you just don't know about that Cigna provides you just because you're a Cigna member. So the other piece is that for Spanish speakers, they do have an employee hotline. That number is listed there above. And so if you have specific questions that you need to talk to somebody about, you can do that. So this is just another great resource. And again, all the benefits that are loaded in here are specific to O'Brien and your plan. So when you select current benefits and coverage, that kind of thing will come up. So you can look at benefit summaries and all the questions that you may have about your Cigna products. Okay, so Ellie also gave a really good push for this, and this is registeronmycigna.com. And again, I mean, there's so much available on this site. You can find your in-network doctors, dentists, medical services, anything that you're looking for, you can do it all through the app here. And through this registration, you can view your ID card. You can manage and track claims. There's just so many things that you can do here, and very easy. And then you have access at your fingertips. And I don't know if you're like me, but when those EOBs come in the mail, it just feels like a lot of paper, and I don't know why I don't want to, should I save them? Should I put them aside? Everything will be here on the website. So I encourage everybody to register at MyCigna if you have not done so already. Okay, so this is just a little plug, a little reminder that you guys do have virtual wellness screenings that are available, and also any sort of virtual visit is available through MD Live. It's a great way to go to a provider, get something checked out. Like Brandon had mentioned before, they can prescribe over a virtual visit, which is great, but you also can get a wellness screening over a virtual visit. So This is just a reminder that this is in place. If it's more convenient for you guys to do it this way, do it this way. It's a great convenience for everybody.
Thanks, Mandy. I thought you'd never stop talking, so I'll come in now.
Me too. Me too. I kind of thought I might have a few more things to say, so don't worry.
right.
I'll get back, everybody.
I know we've hit on this probably every year we've met with you, but it's just a good reminder. The best thing for you is just for us to tell you sometimes what's the most affordable and the best option. And sometimes the actual benefit insurance, maybe not. And so downloading this app, GoodRx, is worth the time. I have found that over the past 5 years since I've had this app, sometimes GoodRx does beat the insurance. It's about 50-50. So when you download the app, and let's say you have a prescription that you want to pick up, you put this into the app, it'll tell you exactly where you can get it within that certain mile radius at the lowest cost. For example, I've seen that Safeway has been cheaper, Fred Meyer's, Walgreens has always been one of the top most expensive place. So it even kind of lists on where the pharmacies and what is more affordable. So you want to play with it. If you have a prescription, check it out. It may be worth the time on GoodRx. Now, if you have a 3 months, or if you have a maintenance drug that you take and you want a 3-month supply, this is a good way to go because you do save half of the copay.
No, I just wanted to remind everybody, you get 90 days, but it's for the 3 copays. Yeah.
So it is the same cost. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, that's not good, Mandy.
But
Thanks
it's
for that.
convenient. It's convenient though.
It's convenient. All right. And it's easy to get. You can print off a form on mycigna.com and bring it to your physician, and then they can fill that out, and then you can get this 3-month supply sent to your home.
So just to clarify then, you can use GoodRx when you're also using your insurance, or it's when you're not going to use your insurance?
It's when you're not. So that's a good point, Ellie. If you do use the app, you will not have that go towards your out-of-pocket or deductible. So they're not billing the insurance on it, but you could be paying less at that point, but it won't go towards your deductible.
And I have seen where it is less, especially for a 90-day supply, and especially if you're busy and you want to deliver it at home. Like if you just want something that you don't have to worry about, it is a really good option. And I had another related question. Are any COVID screenings and or testing or home kits or anything covered under does that apply to any of the GoodRx or pharmacy tips you've got for us?
So they don't have that covered under pharmacy. If it's a diagnostic COVID test, it's covered under the insurance 100%. Unfortunately, if you need a test because you're going on a trip, that type of thing, it is not covered. It's at the employee's expense.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
And then one other question, Brandon, if you're using GoodRx, does that mean you're searching for the pharmacy while you're at the doctor's office so that they can send the script to a certain place?
Yeah, that would be a good idea. So if you're there and they say, hey, this is the prescription that you're going to get, you can get on that app real quick and you can find the best option for the prescription.
Okay.
It just takes a second. The app's really easy to use. Yeah.
Okay.
And I will just tell you, Walgreens is going to be number one in most cost, Rite Aid, those types of places. Walmart, Safeway, Fred Meyer's are usually the most affordable. Mandy, I think we're back to you.
Oh, I thought that would never happen. Thank you. We're almost done, everybody. You can stop listening soon. So again, I already talked about when you can get virtual care, right? And you can use MD Live and you go to mycigna.com and that's how you can access your virtual care visit. I wanted to put this slide up to remind you that you also could see a licensed counselor or psychiatrist through this app as well. And I just mentioned this because I think we talked about it last year. It's been a hard 18 months, I would say. It's been rough, and I know everything's changing, everything's different. We're just living in a different world right now. And so there are stresses that come along with that. And so just wanted to remind you that maybe it's easier for you to visit a counselor virtually. You can do that through the app. So, and there's tons of board certified counselors and psychiatrists there that you have access to with your medical Cigna plan. So good reminder. Which leads me into my next point. You also have support for emotional well-being. And so this acts like an employee assistance program where you can use 3 face-to-face visits. This is separate from the medical benefit with a licensed mental health provider. You can have a live chat. You can have unlimited telephonic counseling. There's self-service digital tools, and I'm going to talk about some of those that are available. You also have access to legal services, which is like a 30-minute no-cost consultation that you could visit with an attorney to get some advice, some IRS discounting happening there, access to financial services. There's an identity theft consultation and fraud resolution that you have access to. This is all just through the Cigna program. This is extra on top of your medical. And then obviously there's a phone number there that you can call. This information would be on that website that I shared with you a couple slides ago, where you would have access to some of the resources. You would be able to get that number there, and then you would just use your normal ID number on your Cigna card. So again, I just don't want people to forget about this stuff. It's sometimes the last thing you think of, like maybe you're having a dispute with someone, you might need some legal advice, and you should use these resources because they're free. So that's a great thing, and I want to remind you about that. Okay, so these are some new tools that Cigna is now providing through their self-directed health services and their digital tools on mycigna.com. And so you can download these apps through the MyCigna portal. And so they have 2 different apps available. Prevail, which is a program designed by experienced healthcare providers to help employees take control of stresses of everyday life. And so it has interactive video lessons, one-on-one coaching, help with depression, anxiety. Again, like I mentioned, it's been a rough couple of years. Everybody's kind of experiencing weird new things. Things are happening. And so this is a great tool that you have access to. And I wanted to make sure I shared that with you, along with the app Happify, which it's a program that has activities, games, guided meditations, things like that to help with anxiety and just kind of help your overall well-being. So again, you have access through this just because you're a Cigna member. You can download these through the mycigna.com. If you just download it, not through the app, you won't get the full-blown version, and it is free, Prevail and Happify. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Those are some new things that have been rolled out with Cigna, and I think they're great resources. Oh boy. I think we've done it. One thing I would like to mention is this is open enrollment. It's going to start for your group on November 15th. I know Ellie can speak more to what you're going to do to do your open enrollment, but it's going to close on November 30th because we want to make sure that if you're making any changes or doing anything different with the plans, we get that information over to the carriers and that everything is all up to par on January 1st. So Ellie, if you have some more information on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks to both of you. That is true. So you'll receive an email everyone will receive an email on Friday with some explanations, next steps, links, all kinds of great information on what to expect and how to make changes. Whether or not you're making changes, you're going to have to respond via the portal through open enrollment. So with no changes made, you're essentially acknowledging that there's a cost share for the employee, that's different. So for the next year, and as you saw, that's a couple dollars difference per pay period. And depending on what plans you're on, of course. And that will open on Monday. So you'll be able to go in and self-directed tour through your open enrollment on Monday through the end of the month, through the 30th. So, and I believe, let's see, I wanted to make sure too, before we pass it off to Paul, that if we had any questions that were specific to the plans, or I know I just had one that was still sitting around from my list, but did anyone who's joining us, just want to give them a moment before, if you all were going to drop off or anything, so that they could have an opportunity to ask. So we'll do like a going once, going twice. I don't see anybody coming off their mutes yet. Well, my one question was, and please raise your hand or interrupt me if you do want to pipe in. Anyone else? When you're getting a COVID vaccine, should you use your insurance card?
No, so this one has been kind of frustrating because they've been trained to ask you
Mhm.
for your insurance card, and you really should decline because this is paid for by the government, so it should be covered in full. They should not be billing insurance companies, but they do it so they can try to get payment. So we encourage you just to decline if they ask.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying that. That's helpful. And I do want to pass it off to Paul so that, because I know we're running short on time here, and you all did a great job, and thank you for letting us have a little bit more of a casual environment to be able to ask questions and let me butt in, because I usually have a long list of comments and questions. So
No worries.
but we'll talk a little bit about, because we've got some really exciting healthy employee initiatives that we're rolling out for 22, and it's really just the focus on, I love how this presentation, how you all ended, and Mandy really pointing out that Cigna and basically the world is recognizing that a lot of the things that we've been through over the last couple of years are bubbling to the surface in different ways that we don't necessarily recognize what the source of it is. So I love this. This is a quote: "The state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. That's what wellness is." So we're gonna roll out some very comprehensive employee wellness, healthy employee, fun sort of initiatives, and so that we can really identify and learn more about, as a community, where we need to focus on our wellness and how we can help each other. So thank you all for helping us with that too, by providing all of Cigna's cool apps and websites and sources. So that's very much appreciated. Brandon, Mandrins.
There you go. No, thank you. We appreciate it. I'm gonna stop the recording here, so we're set.